get started in reviewing your store, and I'm going to warn you ahead of time, I am not going to be nice about this. Um, by that, I'm not going to be mean, but I'm just going to be very frank with you about things. It's just the way I work. And the reason I have to warn you is like there's a lot of room for improvement here, right? You can only go up, which is a good problem to have. Because I think there's a lot of easy things to fix here, which gets back to your main point of, hey, I've got this store, I'm driving traffic to it, and nobody is buying, right? So let me walk through your store and give you a feel for why I think that might be happening. So the first thing is, you got people coming to your site but not buying. I would ask you, like, how many people? Do you have 1,000 visitors to your site or 100 visitors to your site? Right? If you have 1,000, you're not getting any sales problem. If you got 100, it just might be the question of who those 100 are, kind of thing, and also where are you getting the traffic from. So, what I'm gonna usually when I review a store, I start on the product. For you, I'm gonna start with the brand, which is usually where I end this conversation, right? And that's because I think brand is your biggest problem here. Although there's some stuff we can improve on the store also. So to get started, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask my good friend ChatGPT, what does RX stand for? And I know the answer already, but I just want to bring up the ChatGPT part of it, right? To show you the answer here. And basically, right, the RX means prescribed medication, right, prescription. So here we have a mental prescribed medication clothing brand, right? So, and my guess is, you did some work to find a domain that you could grab, right? But this, to me, is a really bad name, right? So, you're restricting yourself to clothing. Well, here, let me put it this way. I get the point of what you're trying to do, mental health, right? But this is very forced mental health, right? So it shows a lack of nuance, a lack of finesse, just having this, mental, prescribed medication clothing as the name, and then the brain icon is really simple, right? And by simple, I mean, once again, not elegant, not refined. Here's the way to think about it: is what is the goal of your brand, right? And it's not to sell clothing; it's something higher level. And here it's not that clear. Let's see. All right, we want to create a platform for mental health awareness. So it's mental health awareness. All right, I like that, right? So if we're about building awareness, does this get that point across? And I really don't think so. And we also have a ton of white space here, right? Here and here. It's just this thing dominates. I think you gotta do a seriously much improved job on the brand, right? What is the name? What is the icon? The image you're gonna have, the logo. What fonts are you doing? Right now you've got this Sharpie-like looking font, and let me see if this client still has it. I'm trying to think. Enthusiast. I built this store a few years ago. I haven't looked at it in a while. And they had a Sharpie font also, and I'm not seeing it anymore. And it was meant. Oh, there it is, right there. Because medical professionals use Sharpies, but this is for medical professionals, right? So you'll see what they're targeting here is by a profession. It's for nurses, it's for doctors, and that kind of stuff. By specialty. So this isn't for consumers. Yours is consumer facing. So they might not get the Sharpie type thing that's going on there. That was totally done on purpose in this store on those product pages, right? And we'll refer back to this store a couple times, I think. So I think you need serious work on your brand. And you need to be able to explain your brand value props a lot better, or not better, but in more detail. So here, when I looked at this, right, I looked at the, for mental health awareness. With this platform, he hopes to help people spread awareness. So, how? Well, you call this a platform twice, right? Redundancy in the words can be a good thing, but is this really a platform, or is this a website, right? Or is this a store? I think right now what you have is a store. And maybe you have a vision of where it's going, but I don't see that vision coming to life here, right? So if this, the goal here is mental health awareness and to spread mental health awareness, like, is this for helping people identify these people have mental health issues and need to go get it fixed? Or is it, about spreading awareness about the variety of minds that, or mindsets that people have, and just accepting one another? There's little nuances and details in there. So really, what is it you're going after, and how are you going after it? And by you, I mean, how is the brand going to spread awareness, right? Is it spreading awareness by letting people, self-identify and wear fun T-shirts that explain things? Or is there a charitable thing where you're giving money to some sort of institution or program? Here you go. 15% of our profits go to someone who needs mental health assistance. Please check out our catalog of T-shirts if you're... Yeah, see, these don't connect. Prescribing awareness, right? How does that title connect to the words underneath, right? And then this sentence is a value prop for the brand, but then you dive straight into a sales pitch, and you talk about merch and not products, which I'll explain that difference here in a little bit. So it's literally, the site looks like someone spent a weekend putting it together, and really hasn't thought through all the fine level details of the experience, the brand, and what customers should be doing and how they should be feeling, right? For example, the brand colors right now look like this red, this black, and this blue. Why? A brand should evoke an emotion. What emotion are you trying to evoke, and how are these colors doing that? How are these fonts doing that, right? So, if I was you, the first place I would start is your About Us page, and I wouldn't put a contact form on it. I would make it About Us. And you start with the beginning, but where's today? Where's the future, right? And for the aspiration that you have of helping people spread awareness of mental health, this is all you have to say about that, right? You need to have a long story, long story, right? And let me give you a couple examples here. Let's go to Healing Home Foods, right? So Shelly makes these snacks here, and they're raw food techniques. They're super healthy and all that kind of stuff. And you can see here on her story how long it is, right? And she talks about how her son Jackson is on the spectrum and had, dietary issues, and then her husband got cancer and needed, better foods. And you can see it keeps going and it keeps going, kind of thing, right? So you need a nice long story. Another, example of that would be Bixby, where they make really high quality chocolates. And, their story talks about how Kate went to cooking school and then her mom got cancer. So then, she talks about, wanting to make high quality chocolate so that, mom can still battle cancer and all that kind of stuff. She's got a video. So there's all sorts of information going on here. And there's none of that in yours, right? So that's the next step you need to think about is, all right, there's the beginning, there's today, and then there's the future. And what are those three things look like for you, right? And I'm going to go through every single word here, right? Logan has always been an advocate for mental health. Prove it to me. Prove it to me. Here, I'm guessing you're on the North Carolina beach or something like that, right? I want to see you being an advocate for better mental health. I don't know, how you've done this, right? But show it to me. Show me the speech you've done promoting better mental health. Show me the work that you do. The research, whatever kind of thing. After many years of working in radiology, um, what does radiology have to do with mental health? Like, could I say the same thing of after many years of working in automotive repair? Like, how did you get from radiology to mental health? I'm not making that connection. You probably have one, right? You probably have this really interesting story. You've just got to sit down and explain it. And I would also highly encourage you to make a video, talking about yourself, blah blah blah. With this platform, yeah. So you roll right into this platform without even talking about what this platform is. Um, you don't hope here, right? Be a little more proactive, you know, with this platform, mental, whatever this new brand is going to be, because let me tell you, you got to change it, right? Mental RX clothing, with this platform, Mental RX, clothing is doing blah 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 for spreading awareness, right? And then not only does so here you're in the first, you're in the first person, and here you're in the company name. You got to be consistent in what you're doing. Although, don't get me wrong, I totally want you telling the Logan story. About you is important. But my point is, it was all, Logan here and then he, right? And then you just transition into Mental RX clothing. All right. Not only does Mental RX clothing have T-shirts, we are also selling Logan's self-published books. What do your books have to do with your company mission of mental health awareness? When I looked at your books, I think I looked at them. I couldn't tell what they were about, which tells me something, right? In that the product descriptions, needed some work. But if we go here, yeah, so is this fiction? Is it nonfiction? Right. I have no idea if this is a documentary type thing, or is it just a fiction thing? And is it about mental health? I can see the word depressed, but someone. So I don't see the connection between this and the mission of the brand. And if the books don't connect to the mission of the brand, get rid of them. I think it's one of those, hey, I want to sell my books too, versus it really adds up to the value prop of the mission. And I might be wrong on that, right? He started writing at 19 years old after graduating high school. Once again, that's not important if it's not going to be included, but if it is going to be included. And then here, you have multiple spelling errors on this website. You cannot make a spelling error, in my humble opinion, right? He has been an avid reader and writer. Once again, how does that add up to the mission? So he wanted to combine his love for writing and his aspiration for helping people at one site. No, you don't have to combine the two, right? It's great you have two passions. Nothing wrong with that, right? But if they are not related, you do not have to combine them. And in fact, you should not combine them if they are not related, right? To give you an extreme example, let's say you were selling shocks, for four-wheel drive vehicles and baby toys, right? You can have, businesses that do both those things, but you don't combine those into one experience. I don't know if you have to have this disclaimer on here or not. If you do have to have it, I would move it down below and hide it a little bit more, because it's just too in my face right now. So what I want to see here, I want to see the beginning, the now, and the future story, talking about and staying 100% focused on this mission of mental health awareness, and spread, and how you got this passion. And here's the thing: how did you get this expertise? And because to be quite frank, I doubt you're an expert right now, right? Because you haven't proven to me you're an expert in this. Like I literally had this guy last week telling me that he wants to build a website about helping parents and children deal with all the cultural issues of growing up today, right, with social media and all that kind of stuff. And I said, great, show me your PhD. And I knew he didn't have it, but I was being very serious. Like, show me your PhD, right? Show me your psychology degree. Show me your 15 years of experience in helping parents and children kind of stuff. And he was planning on having AI come up with all his content, right? It's like, yeah, that's crap, right? So I'm assuming right now you have not only a passion, but also street cred, expertise, execution, experience. I want to see all of that, right? I want to see all of it. So, going back to the homepage, yeah, so that's the other part. The 15% of our profit goes to someone who needs mental health assistance. Tell me how you are doing that, right? So let me see if I have it here in Reptichip. They actually give money every year to their number one charity. Oh, I don't even think we're talking about it here anymore, are we? We still do it. But there's USARC. Here we go. So on their About page, right, the charity that they support is USARC, and they talk about how they do that kind of thing. And we actually do a campaign every year supporting USARC. All the profits from the campaign go to USARC. So, on yours, I want to see more detail about that. And, if you put a brand behind it, like, you show you giving the big check to the charity's organizer or whatever, or, you show you working with people who, need the mental health assistance, that's going to be the proof that gives validity to what you're doing. So highly encourage you to deepen the whole brand story, right? So you come up with a story first, like we're talking about. And like I said, you got the pieces there. You just have to flesh it out some more. And then once you do that, then you determine what your, brand name is going to be, and what your icon is going to be, and what your colors are going to be, and what your font is going to be. So now that's enough talking about that for the moment. So let's go into a product page. And I'm going to pick a random. No, I'm not going to pick that random one. I'm going to pick this random one. Oh, let me go to it first. Let me go to these. So I would not have any. So here's the difference between merch. Remember I said I talk about merch. Here's the difference between merch in my mind and products, right? Merch is your brand, right? So if you're Nike and you sell a Nike t-shirt, although Nike sells nothing but t-shirts and their logo is on everything. So maybe a better example is if you are Fruit Loops. I just saw a TV show last night that had Fruit Loops in it. If you are Fruit Loops and you sell a hat or a t-shirt with the Fruit Loop toucan on it and it says Fruit Loops on it, that's merch, right? It's your brand on clothing, but you sell another type of product. But you do that when you're a brand, right? And you're not a brand until you're successful, right? We all try to be brands, but we try to build our brands, but then our brands are real and legit once we are selling X number of dollars. Let's just say for you $20,000 a month worth of sales through your store, then you're really executing on the brand thing. If you aren't a brand yet and you're just trying to get established, don't have merch because no one wants it, right? Because you don't have a brand yet. They don't want to wear your brand because your brand isn't real yet in their minds, right? And I also would not tell them that you're doing this stuff through crappy old Printify. So I would hide your vendor thing. But here on all of your products, right? So this lives up to the mental health thing. This does. I would get rid of the brand on it. This is good. 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 Get rid of this. Get rid of this. Keep this, but get rid of the brand on it. Get rid of this. 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 Right? keep, get rid of the brand, get rid of the brand, keep, get rid of, get rid of, get rid of, get rid of, keep. And going back to the one I said I would go back to, which is these guys. So what Menthusiast does, and these guys are super successful. It's actually this woman is super successful, and she's targeting just medical professionals, and she's a nurse herself. And all of these are kind of little jokes or puns or insider things that totally resonate with her audience, right? But even with all that said, let's just go to a collection of all. And she's been doing this for a long time now. I'm just quickly looking. I don't think her brand is on anything, right? It's all about the products, right? And the funny little sayings and the cute things that make everybody happy, right? And I think for you want to do the same thing where you're not doing your own brand on your products for a long time. And like she's doing, probably $200,000 a year in sales, and she doesn't have her brand on her products because it's about the message. It's not about the brand; it's about the message, right? So for you, I would highly recommend that you think about doing the same thing. And the cool thing about that is the thing you are doing here is you're coming up with these fun, cute little sayings. Oh, by the way, let me go back to this. She quickly found out that the quality of her product was super important. If you read her reviews, it's amazing how many people say, the softest, most comfortable t-shirt I've ever had. I love it. It's my everyday wear kind of thing, right? And she quickly found that the print-on-demand people did not meet her quality bar. And she found out that she had to create her own or get her own products made locally where she lives kind of thing. So, there's nothing wrong with using Printify right now, but as soon as you get to any sort of volume, you're going to want to switch out of that. And as you know, at Printify, your margins are absolutely garbage, right? Because they charge so much. So what you want to think about here is, making more of these T-shirts, which are fun messages that people are going to resonate with. Now, another thing to think about, and your T-shirt designs aren't that sophisticated, right? And what I mean by that is, these graphics and all. What is this? Oh, that's the back and then the front. Yeah, that's gonna. Well, I would just put your message on the front, not on the back, because if my message is on the back, I can't connect with anybody about my message because I can't see them, right? Yeah, I didn't realize that before. Okay, but the graphics here aren't the best. They're not awful, but there's no elegance behind them, right? They're not that sophisticated. And what you want to look at is how readable things are, right? So, this many words on a T-shirt. How close do I have to get to that T-shirt? Oh yeah. It's totally confusing the way it's laid out. How close do I have to get before I can actually read that T-shirt kind of thing? So you just want to check those things out. Like the first time I ever did an ad on the side of a bus, I had a big long message and realized nobody could read it while the bus was moving because the words were too small, right? On buses, you need like 3-foot letters. So you got to figure out what the right size of letters that you need in your T-shirts is. But let's look at this T-shirt. So you got size options, you got color, which is fine. But do you really need all these images? Do they add value? I know the Printify or whatever you're using gives you those images, but do you really need them, right? Or is it all just about the main message, this one here, and that's all you really need? Now so we got colors, fine. I always turn off the shop pay when I can. I also hide this when I can. So let's read this. So I'm buying this T-shirt. Why? Right? And I think the reason why is because of the message, right? Because of the graphic. And the t-shirt is just the delivery mechanism of it. But, I want this not because it's a gray thing or, it's, polyester or cotton or whatever, but I want it because I resonate with that message, right? And if that's the case, which I'm fairly confident it is, what this description should be about is the message, right? So this unisex style t-shirt combines comfort and a whimsical design, making it a perfect addition to both casual and semi-formal wardrobes. The vibrant colors and playful... You haven't said anything specific about this message yet. Let's see when it happens. Perfect for expressing sparking joy, ideal for relaxed gatherings, cozy nights, unique personality, it's relevant to occasions. My brain is loud, but I'm learning to turn down the volume. How is that for birthdays and casual meetups, or even as a thoughtful gift for mental? Yeah, that's just a stretch. All right. First paragraph does not mention anything specific about this graphic. It talks about the graphic in completely anonymous, generic terms, right? Playful graphics, right? Doesn't say anything about this graphic. And we say it's great for birthday parties and mental health awareness events, but it doesn't talk about, you're the kind of person who your brain is always screaming at you. And sometimes you're just trying to tell it to shut up. Well, guess what? We got the perfect design for you, right? Product features. This is about the t-shirt, not the graphic. 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 This, t-shirt, 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 t-shirt. So you literally tell nothing about the graphic in this entire product description. Where I think the only thing you want to talk about, you can have this other specky stuff at the bottom. Who cares, right? But the only thing you want to talk about is the graphic. Who's it for? What message are you having? Who's this gonna make smile? Right? Blah blah blah, kind of thing. You want? Am I wearing this T-shirt to communicate something to other people that we connect? It's supposed to express individuality and sparking joy, right? Like these grandiose, statements with no supporting documentation behind them. So that's enough for that one. I'm not a fan of you may also like on a product page. Now, and the reason why is I want to buy this T-shirt. I get to this point. Oh, so OCD awareness T-shirt. I didn't even see that, right? So this is for someone with OCD, right? But nowhere down here does it say that. It just, once again, this description is horrible. But here's the reason I don't like this stuff down here. Are these for OCD people? Maybe, maybe not, right? But here I've said I want to talk about OCD. I want to learn about OCD. I want to express my OCD, whatever. And then, I'm reading about it. There's nothing here to make me want to buy this because I'm OCD. So then, we put in things like you may also like because our merchandising is such crap on this page, right? So let's just go to another product and see if it's a similar situation. Yeah, same thing with the front and back. But so here we go. I think the most important thing about this T-shirt is this design. Bipolar doesn't define you. You do, right? Image number 1 doesn't have that. Image number 2 does not have that. Image number 3 does not have that. Image number 4 does not have that. Image number 5 does not have that. I have to go to image number 6 to see it, right? So that's just, the wrong prioritization. And let's see if we have a description. Yeah, with the relaxed fit and crew neckline. This tee effortlessly pairs with jeans or shorts for a casual day out or layered under a jacket for. Did you take this straight from Printify? Like, this is absolute garbage descriptions. You can do so much better than this. Talk about the graphic, who it's for, who's it going to resonate with, what is the message that you're putting out, who's it going to connect, how are you going to bring people together, how is it sort of raise awareness, how does it blah 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 blah, right? Because I think you could do a great job with that, right? And I think that would make these products way more interesting. Now, no, I'm not going to criticize the photos because you're just using Printify's photos, so I'll just leave that as it is. Now, why did you pick these colors? Just out of curiosity, right? Is there a reason for it? Because they're a little bit different than the other page. And there's no right or wrong there, but I was just wondering if there was any intent behind that. So that is that. Let's add one to the cart and see what happens. All right, we got this little cart thing. We're going to go check out our cart. I can see my shirt, $25. See, that's not fun. So here, you are using the black. Okay, you're using black for your. What I like to do for the add to cart button is make it red, and I make it the brightest color on the page. So there's no confusion, which is why I don't like this buy with Shop Pay, because when you add this, the theme automatically makes this not as dominant. But I like the add to cart button to be red, so it's a no-brainer what the next call to action is. Because what happened here, right? I got to this page, and I was looking for an add to cart. Like, this is brighter than this. And I usually get rid of these also. A little code hack to do that. But if this was red, then it'd be obvious that's the next thing to click on, right? Now, in your cart, you don't have your branding in here yet. Let's get out of Shop Pay and go to your guest one. You don't have your branding in here yet. You don't have your colors and your fonts and those kind of things, right? We got a different color button. So it feels like it's in a different experience. Those are easy settings in your theme customization to go ahead and update. Actually, theme customization will point you to checkout customization, but you can put in your logo and your colors and your fonts here also, so it feels more holistic with your site. Now, you don't have your policy set up, your privacy policy, your shipping policy, your return policy, and your terms of use, right? And I know you don't have those set up because if you did, they would show up down here, right? And you also want those to show up in this page here, right? When you start doing ads to your site, you're going to want your policies all set up. Because people might go, oh, I love this t-shirt. What is the return policy? And they go down here and they don't see it. I actually put the return policy on the product page also, and the shipping policy for that matter. But you don't have to do that, but making them available would be a good thing for you. Now, let's look at a sticker, because those are different than our t-shirts, and see if I have any feedback on it other than once again, you're just too focused on the process and the product and not enough on the message that is making. Now, I personally don't understand the my anxiety fuels me with the soda can. Maybe I crushed the can because I was so anxious. If that's what it, if people get that, then that's fine. But I didn't get it. Now here we have these options, but no other options. So, do you really need them there, or can you just say, hey, the size of this is 3 inches by 4 inches, and not make them product variants? So people won't get confused thinking they have to make choices there. Now, another thing is, if I'm a fan of making the website more of a decision-making engine. And what I mean by that is, I would have, multiple ways to shop. And let's go back to this one as an example, right? we had, by profession, are you a physician assistant, a nurse, or whatever that is, or by specialty, or by type, right? So you could think about in your store having you could have OC, by mental health condition, and probably not the politically correct term, but OCD, anxiety, whatever, right? You could have by product type, T-shirts, stickers, and those kind of things. So allow people some ability. Now you got these filters here, right? But it's just in stock or out of stock. That's not helpful because they're all in stock. In price, people shouldn't be shopping by price, because there's only one OCD or one bipolar T-shirt, right, kind of thing, I assume. So it doesn't matter what the price is because there's not like 15 to choose from, or price becomes something that I care about. So these filters up here are kind of useless, right? And the sort, that's fine. But here, what I would have is, multiple ways to start your shopping experience. Shop by product, T-shirts, stickers, right? Shop by mental health concern or whatever, and then allow people to find what they're looking for. Like for example, here on this Hunting for Peace T-shirt, this one's a soft style T-shirt, empowerment over depression. Maybe the title is just the the name. This one says soft style T-shirt. Is there a reason for this unisex soft style thing? Maybe some of these are men's fit, some are women's fit, some are unisex. They all look unisex to me. So those are things to play with. And as if this becomes successful, maybe this is the kind of thing where you turn it into a hat or a mug or a hoodie instead of your own branded stuff, right? But this page, right, this catalog, doesn't help people very much. So you can do a better job at helping them, right? You could have tags or meta fields for things like anxiety, OCD, and bipolar, and those could be filters instead of availability and price. Because what you want is people to start their shopping experience one way. And I'll give you another example of this. Let's go to authentic. So here we can look at things, by vintage posters, antique prints, and illustrations. But once they do that, and this is using a robust filter engine, but then they can, say, well, I care about size, right? Or I care about, the age, what decade was this done in? What country did it come from, right? So there's all sorts of criteria that are going to be important to people, and you want to go ahead and put that in there, whatever those are. And for you, there's not many of them. It's not like authentic. We have like 5 or 6 different ways to filter, but you should have some filters here that makes it easier for them. So if they pick T-shirt from the top nav, then they would see this is the OCD one. Now, if you only have 5 or 6 designs right now, which is all you have, you could do that right on this page, where instead of making a collection page, let's go here and show you this. These guys sell substrate, and they sell 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different types of substrate, even though there's 8 things shown here, because 2 of them come in 2 different types of packaging, right? So what we do, instead of just showing the 8 different types of substrate and packaging they can get, we say, hey, if you want the most popular, this is the one. And by the way, it comes in 2 different package types, the ready to use and the breeder block. Now, here's some other specialty ones, and the differences between them is the size of the substrate. So we're clearly calling out the differences in our product, and we're saying, hey, this one is best for these types of animals, where this one is best for these types of animals, right? So we're helping people decide which of these products is best for them. And what you're doing here is you're just listing out your products, and because your catalog is so small, and there's nothing wrong with that, it's a great advantage, you can do a better job in merchandising them to people. All right. You don't have a lot of content on this site, so there's not a lot to judge here. Let me just do a little more looking. Now, I would have, the About Us in the footer, with the other links. I would have a contact us down there, which is be a separate page, right? Why is this called news? I have no idea. Oh, you put this in. You made this a blog. I would make about us a page, not a blog. I'd make contact us a page. I would have an FAQ page, and if you are giving money to charities, I would have our charities page or something like that, or brand support or whatever it is kind of thing. Now, do you have any press or news or things to show, like talks you've given and those kind of things? Those would be important too. That's where you put in a blog, right? Is that kind of information? Yeah. Well, and one of the challenges you have, you look young here, right? Let's assume for a second you're 35, but you look younger than that, or maybe you're 22 or whatever. That just is what it is. The challenge you have is you have to, because you look so young, you have to overemphasize experience and expertise, right? If you were a wizened old man like I am, you just have to say, "Oh, I've been around since 1966," which is when I was born, and that gives you street cred because you've been on the planet long enough. You're going to have to prove your street cred a little bit more there, okay? Are you marketing outside of the United States? Are you actually going to ship these to these countries? If you're not, then just go ahead and turn them off, right? If you can't ship to those countries in the checkout, then don't do it there. Now let's actually look at your Instagram. I'm not a fan of putting a link in the header for social. I would put that in the footer, like you already have there. But let's look at it and see what you're doing. So you have 85 followers, 295 following. So your ratio's backwards, right? Which is you're new. That's totally fine. Um, yeah, the other thing here is, and I'm surprised I didn't. So this is a better example. Um, your website. What is MegaCon? Some sort of convention. Uh, yeah. Oh, you're killing me here, man. Let's go to MegaCon. Yeah, what does this have to do with mental health awareness? All right, this should not be your first convention you're going to. This looks like a mini Comic Con type of thing. If I'm wrong in that, then take care of it. No, it is totally a mini Comic Con type of thing. Um, I would say this is not where you should be spending your time in marketing, right? Like, uh, well, I don't need to go into the personal details of this, right? But I'm looking here, and you're like, oh, check out our first convention. How many T-shirts did you sell at this convention? Was it the right audience and all that kind of stuff? I'm guessing not. I think you could do better at picking where you're going to be doing, your limited resources of actually doing event marketing, setting up booths, and those kind of things, right? So what's missing here is people, right? So here you have one. So I'm assuming it's a friend of yours or whatever, which is totally fine, right? But your site has no people in it. So let's go back to your website. you need people, not just shirts, right? And you have a couple of them with the stock photography that's coming out. But let me show you a real example here. Let's go to Mulberry. When I first started working with Mulberry like 6 or 7 years ago, they sell silk sheets, right? All of their photos were just of sheets. There were no people anywhere on the site, right? And what Kendra has been doing is, setting up photo shoots. So like this bed is actually in the corner of their warehouse, right? So they set up some beds and started doing photo shoots in their warehouse, and they hire local models to pose and take. So this looks way better than it was 6 years ago, where it's just silk, 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 right? And this was just silk, 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 and now it's with people wearing things. And in the beginning, all the women were just way too young and way too white, and they started getting diversity in place, started getting men in there. This woman's actually in her 40s, kind of things. They started, spreading out a little bit. But the point is, adding people to their website made such a huge difference in the feeling, right? Because you felt like this was a place where people, engaged, were living and breathing and like doing things. And it's hard when you're first starting out, but what you want to do is give people a presence, right? So right now you've got this stock photography of people who are, let's just see if we get one here, actual models. No, you don't have one on that one, but some of your t-shirts did. No, that one doesn't either. It was the bipolar that had it, right? But, does this person look bipolar to you? Does this person look bipolar to you? And some of the things you can do is give yourself a little more street cred. I don't know what a bipolar person looks like, right? But having real people in real situations, right? I'll show you a real example here, right? If we go to Ludor, and right now she's shifting. She's very much about kids' health and, growing up well and all this other kind of stuff. And she does these school tours, right? But you'll notice here on the school tour page, she has pictures of herself at school tours with real people, not models, right? And she's got videos of it and all that kind of stuff. So, all the photography here is real and authentic. And that's what you're going to want, as you evolve your brand, is that real and authentic photography throughout your site. So your Instagram, kind of weak, but you're new at it, so that's fine. You got to figure out a way to, get followers on Instagram. If Instagram's going to drive traffic for you. And honestly, most brands don't drive traffic through Instagram or through TikTok. But, if you think you can, then you're going to need to up that game there. Now, let's talk about this page here, your home page, right? I doubt you're successful enough that you need a t-shirt of the month, right? What you want to do here is, I call this the "You Are Here" sign, right? Your homepage should tell people, this is what we do, this is who it's for. If that's you, click, right? So let's actually just go back to this one and see what they do. Yeah, premium coconut substrate for reptiles and amphibians. So we quickly say what we do, premium coconut substrate, and who it's for, reptiles and amphibians. If you have a bird, you're in the wrong place, right? If you're looking for food for your reptile and amphibian, you're in the wrong place. Authentic vintage posters, let's see what they have. 100% original vintage posters, preserving history, inspiring interiors, right? So if you're looking for reproductions, because you don't want to spend $5,000 on a poster, you're in the wrong place. If you're looking for comic art, you're in the wrong place, right? Kind of thing. Transform your bedroom into a silk sanctuary, right? So for you, what is your, and I like it 7 words or less, what is your, this is who we are, this is who we serve, this is how we're different from the others. Now, I just give you a lot of requirements for 7 words, but the challenge is to fit that into 7 words, right? And then, what sort of image evokes that for you, right? So I assume it's going to be, improving, mental health awareness, blah, 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 right? So what I'd want to see is a group shot of people, some who have obvious mental health issues and some who do not, and how they're together and all smiling and happy because everybody's aware and respectful and all those kind of things, right? That's the kind of emotion I think you'd want to evoke there. Instead of, somebody lands on your site, mentalprescribedrugsclothing.com, and they have no idea what it's about, right? And by the way, this, Hunting for Peace, it's a representation of how we, once again, a misspelling, how we feel when we just need to take a mental break. It comes with antlers to give an outdoorsy feel. I thought the antlers were a tie-in to the hunting, right? And I actually thought that the antlers don't support the hunt. If you're hunting for peace, you're not killing deer. So that image did not make sense with those words to me, but I'm not your audience, so maybe it does, right? But it's just like, we gave it antlers to give it an outdoorsy feel. It just doesn't tie in, right? But here you want that "you are here" message. This is who we are. This is what we do. This is who it's for. Here's our value prop. Here's our mission. All that, and with an image, right? And then underneath, a couple high-level things. Because right now, if I land on this site, if this shirt isn't what I need because I'm looking for bipolar, I might just leave. Like, no, that's not me. I'm not outdoorsy. I'm out of here, kind of thing. Or if underneath it you said, OCD, anxiety, bipolar, whatever kind of stuff. Let people see those decisions that are also going to be up here, but see them again here. And then, prescribing awareness, 15% of our profits. I want to see the logo of that charity so that we can, build that, reinforce that message. I'd also want to see a little bit about, the mission, a little more detail, just like a paragraph that then points to the About Us page. You also could easily put in an Instagram feed here if you're happy with your Instagram content. I think we do that here. Yeah, this is an Instagram feed. So hopefully that makes sense for you. And I think I'm just about done here because there's not, like I said, not a lot of pages to critique, which is good. The fact you have a nice small catalog makes your problem simple, right? Because what you're trying to do right now is figure out, how are you going to get the right customers to your store, right? So by going to MegaCon, maybe those weren't the right customers, and maybe it was. I could be wrong in that, but however you're attracting your traffic today, maybe it's not the right people, right? So the challenge in e-commerce is not the product, right? That's actually, especially in this space here, fairly easy to do because printing T-shirts is not the most complex thing in the world. The challenge in e-commerce is figuring out how to attract the right audience to your store, right? So for you, that's the big thing is, where am I going to find that traffic that is qualified and is the right audience to be buying these products? And one more thing I thought about earlier and didn't mention to you is so this shirt $25, this one $27.15, this one's $25, this one's $25.30, this one's $26.45, this one's $25.33. Why are they all different prices, right? This sticker $1.95, $1.95, $1.95. There's consistency in the stickers. Why aren't all the shirts the same price? And maybe like in Printify they're slightly different or whatever, and they charge you a little bit different. But make it easier for your customers. Like, they're all the same price, so you don't have to worry about price. Now all you have to think about is which shirt is best for you. Now, if you have, crappy cotton T-shirts and high-performance T-shirts, maybe then you have different prices. But these all look like cotton tees to me. I would recommend making them all the same price, so that's one less thing they have to worry about, right? All right, that's my feedback for you. I like the mission you're on. I think you need to do a lot better job in thinking through the brand and how you're going to execute on that so that when you attract the right audience, when they land here, they feel like they're in a place that actually fulfills on the mission that it's promising. All right, man. Thanks.